Hey, I'm Brie, and this is my sister Jules. I'm an English teacher.
And I'm finally getting over being sick. Woo!
And together we drink wine as we unpack the brilliant writing of the hit 90s sitcom, Boy Meets World. Cheers.
Cheers.
What are we drinking today?
Today we're drinking the wine we were supposed to drink last episode. We are drinking Cavit Pinot Grigio, which is an Italian wine, and it's apparently America's #1 Italian wine.
I feel like this is the wine that you would get on an airplane.
Oh, I like it.
It's better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's very
mild.
mild. Mild's a good word for it. Crisp.
It could be crisper, but I get what you're saying. It's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be.
It's a $13 bottle of wine, and for that price, it's great.
Yeah.
It should have citrus and green apple on the tongue.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Pairs well with
sure.
risotto, cream sauces, chicken, and seafood dishes. I could go for that. I love a seafood dish. A seafood pasta.
I don't know, the texture of it is a little bit weird. Like it drinks it's like a little bit viscous.
Viscous? Remind me what that word means.
Like thick. Like semen is viscous.
Of all the things you could have said, semen is viscous.
It is.
More viscous than other wines we've had?
I feel like my tongue is like a Teflon pan, and the liquid of the wine isn't quite wetting my tongue. It's like there's a layer of it's viscous. I don't know how else to say it. It's like not quenching my mouth in the way that a more liquidy wine would.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment of this wine. I don't necessarily feel that way about it, but you and I rarely agree on wines anyway, so.
I know. So let's get into the episode. We watched season 1, episode 20. We're finally out of the teens. Entitled, The Play's the Thing, which I, as an English teacher, did get the reference. It is a reference to Hamlet, which we are going to talk a lot about in this episode. The synopsis is Corey gets cast as Hamlet in the school play, but when he thinks the material is too soft, he quits. A lot of sexist jokes in this episode.
Yeah, those were rough.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as I heard those, I was like, ooh, Brie's going to have a lot to say about this. Let's get into it.
Air date, April 29th, 1994. This one's written by Ed Decter and John J. Strauss, and that team wrote Grandma Was a Rolling Stone, Class Pre-Union, and Model Family. It was directed by David Traynor. Viewers 16.2 million. Last episode, we forgot to change the fashion moment to the word. We were going to do words. Did you have a word?
Scuba.
That was your word from last episode?
No, I actually didn't have a word of the day.
Okay.
I have one this time.
Oh, good. Okay, that's what I was asking.
I also have a fashion moment this time.
Oh,
and
me
it's
too.
It's not the tights.
What were your first impressions?
My first impression was, I feel like we're back to some of the original content we saw with like a heavy emphasis on some literature and comparing it to like the plot of the story. And that was obviously what was happening this time. So I was like, oh, this is exciting. And hey, I read Hamlet, so I know what's happening. Finally. Woo! Yay. My other first impression was, wow, this episode's really sexist. Awesome.
Yeah, my first impression is definitely like, weird. Weird that they give the sexist characters the final say, like the last word.
Yes.
And I don't like that.
I wanted to bring that up. I felt the same way, and it was irritating because we've had this conversation before about Topanga being a very liberal, very progressive, and that's who she is. And to date, it feels like the writers are like have her in there as like the voice of reason to kind of like combat the sexism of that time. But this very much was a step back in that, the sexism was the norm. There was no like getting back at any of the things that were said, It was really disappointing.
And then on top of it at the end, and when Amy's like coaching Alan through like how he's going to handle his boss and they're talking to the melon, Alan like recites what he's going to say, and Amy says, wow, like so calm, so and she uses these 3 adjectives that I can't remember, but basically like calm and level-headed. And then she says, I'm just not attracted to you anymore. And I was like, no, no. Like clearly the writing, there's a bias in the writing that like men are supposed to be strong and aggressive and like Van Damme, and then like women are supposed to be soft and like, you know, and then men can't sew, and like if men sew, then don't even listen to their daughters because they don't know what they're talking about because their dad sews. Like I was just like, this is crazy. What is going on?
Yeah, it was so it felt out of left field for this show.
Not into that. The other first impression I had was like, what's this? This episode was trying too many things. Like I could not figure out what the message was. Like in going through the script again, I was like, oh, I think I see what they were trying to do. But the way that Hamlet was used was really like it was a stretch. Like Hamlet is not about what they assumed it was about in this episode. Corey dropping out of the play and like realizing that there were consequences to that, and then his dad having a parallel experience at work. Like I was like, I couldn't quite get like how those were related. But then I was like, this is just reminding me more of the episode when Eric quit to be a model, and then he realized that like your job isn't just going to be waiting for you again when you quit. Because like when Corey quit the play, he was then offered spear holder. Right. So he learned that like you can't just leave and come back to it. Like but then also there was this theme about like even the smallest part matters. And I was like, how does that relate to Alan though? Like I was just, I was like that meme of that woman doing all those math equations, like trying to figure out what the theme was. So the English teacher in me was definitely expecting a much cleaner, you know, connection to Hamlet. And it was really messy.
That's, I'm thank you for saying that, because I was kind of hoping you would kind of tell me what that was all about, because I had a hard time putting it together, but I was like, I'm sure Brie will figure it out.
No, I didn't. So
one last thing I'll say, if I read Hamlet in 6th grade, like way over my head, I would not have any. It was like hard for me. I read it in junior year, I think. That was not easy. Shakespeare in general is not easy. 6th grade? That's so hard.
100%. Thank you for saying that, because I actually didn't say that because I'm so used to Feeney teaching them literature that is way above their level.
Yeah, they already did Romeo and Juliet, right?
They did Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. They did Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart.
What is he going to teach them in high school?
Sexo Grammaticus. Which is, by the way, the original like text that Hamlet is based on, about the real person whose name was Omleth, by the way. But anyway, the main thing that was on my mind the whole time was Hamlet is essentially about a character who's contemplating suicide. So why are we reading this with 6th graders? Like, I mean, we do it with our seniors. And I think that's a good age. Like, I think in that time period, you're having your existential crises. You've learned so much that now it's time to start feeling you've eaten the fruit of the tree of knowledge and you have been banned from your utopia of childhood, and you are now in the dystopia of having been enlightened to the reality of the world. And so, yeah, they're like too young for this.
Yeah.
So we start off in the classroom. Feeney walks in, he's all peppy, and he's like, good morning, class. I would like you all to let out your most agonized groan. And they all go, aww. And he's like, good. Now, let's start planning our springtime class play. And everyone's like, ah. I thought that was funny. I was like, I want to try that one day. Feeney says, we will be doing selected scenes from the play Hamlet, Mr. Hunter, in the parlance of theater. What a good word.
Is that your word?
It means like in the jargon of theater, like in the particular way of speaking or using words, especially a way common to those with a particular job or interest. So in theater jargon is essentially what he's saying. You will be a spear carrier. And Miss Lawrence is going to, so Topanga is going to be Ophelia, which totally checks out. And I was really disappointed that we didn't get to see her being Ophelia.
Yeah, she was dead the whole time.
Like, I think this should have been Corey got a role that was small. And he was like, that's dumb. Like, I'm not going to be in this play if it's a small role. Like, I'm not going to like wear the tights and do the thing to say 2 lines. It's stupid. I'm going to like, I'm quitting. And then he quit. And then it was revealed in the writing in a brilliant way that like him quitting, even his small part, led to this, domino effect that like ruined the whole play. And he learned the importance of like every role, every part, no matter what. And then whatever was going on in the grocery store could have been like the bag boy or the box person, like, right, like someone that quote unquote isn't important or has a small role. It's revealed how important their role really is. Mm-hmm. That would have been a good theme. It would have been clear. It would have been straightforward. It could have been good. And then you could have done the Hamlet stuff more as like side plot, but there was like too much trying to mesh the two. And I was just like, no, Hamlet's not the play to like connect to like a 6th grader going through stuff. Like Hamlet's about an adult going through an existential crisis and wondering about like the meaning of life.
Yeah.
So Feeney says, Mr. Minkus, you will be playing the role of wise old Polonius. Now, if you've read the play or seen the play, you know that Polonius is like surface level wise, but he's really an idiot. He gets killed because he's like hiding behind a tapestry in Hamlet's mom's room because he's always conspiring with people and he's always like spying on people and he like hides behind the tapestry and then Hamlet kills him thinking he's Claudius. But he's also the one in the play who says the famous brevity is the soul of wit. But he says it in the midst of like a really long rambling speech. So the whole thing is it's ironic.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It could be Feeney being so smart that he's like, no, that's kind of Minkus. Like he's overreaching.
Yeah, he's overreaching.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if Feeney like gets the play though. He says Hamlet gets on a lot of people's nerves. Fair, he does. He makes one stupid mistake after another, which I was like, I mean, he kills the wrong guy for sure. He's just making kind of crazy decisions. Like, I don't know if I see it as the same thing as saying he made a mistake. Like, I think his only mistake is killing the wrong guy, which is a big mistake.
Yeah, you talking about this and this scene specifically reminds me of that scene in Freaky Friday when the teacher's trying to do a pop quiz about Hamlet, and he asked that guy in the class, and he did not read it, and he was like, Hamlet is he's just a guy who's just bopping around, doesn't know which way's up or down. He's someone who just couldn't make up his mind. And then he got a B for that.
It's so funny because it's actually true.
Yeah.
He is just kind of bopping around. And you're like, where is he supposed to be right now? But then Feeney says, and for 5 acts, he never shuts up. So then he looks at Corey and it's implied that Corey is going to be Hamlet. I wasn't a fan. I just felt like Minkus should have been Hamlet. But I also think this whole episode was written wrong and Corey should have gotten a small part and thought that it didn't matter and quit.
Yeah. I mean, clearly he was trying to cast the people who are embody these characters to some degree. But I guess that must have been his goal because like if he thinks that Corey's going to do a good job, he's not. But also, I thought Minkus would do a good job and he sucked.
Well, he didn't, though. He was actually so good at it that he was able to do it in different accents.
He was too historically accurate.
So we get the theme song. We're on the patio. We get the B plot, which is the whole family is going to be playing a mini golf tournament.
But it's a trip they were going to do. Apparently they do it every year.
Shore. Yeah. Yes. So Corey's like practicing golf. And Eric comes out and he asks to borrow money. And so we learn that Eric needs money because he's gotten a 5% pay cut at the grocery store, which sucks.
Yeah, 5% is a lot.
Can you imagine just being like, oh, thanks for all your hard work. So we're actually going to cut the amount that you're getting paid. There's this motif of Corey saying, I'm blank boy. And he says again in this scene, he says to Eric, you're the one with the job. I'm allowance boy.
I miss it every single time.
And then Eric takes the golf club and knocks the ball into a pipe that leads it into the hole I was like, I'm sorry. Could Corey not do that? And like they tried to do that thing that they did last episode where they just showed you the shot of him hitting the ball and then another shot of it going in. So you thought like it might be a little more complicated than just it went into a pipe that led it directly into the hole. And I was like, no, we literally just saw it. Like, stop thinking we're stupid. We're not dumb. Like, you're talking about Hamlet. Like, either expect us to be smart or not. So we're in the classroom. Corey's practicing his lines. He's doing the to be or not to be speech, which is literally Hamlet contemplating suicide, like to be, to exist, or not to be, to exist. That is the question. Like, should I live? Should I die? I mean, it's a phenomenal work of art. It's also kind of a messy plot. And I've always felt that about Shakespeare's plays. Like, plot-wise, they're kind of like, could be better. I wouldn't say it's the best play ever, but definitely, obviously, like the language itself, like and the pontificating on, existence, the existential philosophical ground that it transgresses is really incredible. But again, plot wise, I find every year I'm like, wait, what? Wait, oh yeah, wait, who is that again? Wait, where did they go? Like, I'm always trying to remember like what the plot is.
Yep. Yeah, I had to look up the plot before this just so I can refresh because it was all over the place. He's just bopping around, as I said.
He's like, all this guy Hamlet does is talk. He even talks when nobody's there. Feeney's like, Prince Hamlet finds himself in the middle of a terrible dilemma. Whatever course of action he chooses could have dire consequences. No. The dire consequences are like he's saying, should I kill myself? Which, if he lives, he has to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Like, he has to just deal then with life's ups and downs. But Feeney says he's one of literature's most human characters, which I agree with that. I also think Hamlet makes some crazy decisions that make him really unrelatable, like when he just like pretends to be crazy for much of the play. And like the reason is so weird. It's like every year I'm like, wait, why does he pretend to be crazy again? It's basically like to buy time and like learn a little bit more about some of the other characters. Like,
is it also to kind of try to who actually killed his dad? Is
Claudius.
Claudius killed his dad. Wasn't it him doing that, trying to see if that would kind of spark any sort of like him acting crazy might make Claudius feel guilty? And that might come out, and so that he could like prove that Claudius did it.
Well, that's why he does the play. So like the reference, the play's the thing, is actually the play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. So this troupe of actors comes to this is like why his plots are so insane. Like, oh, that's so random. Like, they just happen to show up. Also, Hamlet happens to know them. So this troupe of actors shows up at the castle because like entertainment. Hamlet knows them and he decides that he's going to like rewrite their play so that the play is a play where a brother of a king kills the king and marries his, like, it's basically what happens, but he wants to watch his uncle react to the play to see if he is guilty. So you know how the Joker films basically complicate the character of the Joker and make him this like existential clown that like messes with humanity, but he's like really complex and he has all these like really profound moments. I think that's like what Shakespeare's done with Hamlet. Amleth was this person in Danish history, and he just was like, what if Amleth, because Amleth means mad, I believe. So he was like, I'm just gonna like come up with this cool idea of this like crazy character, and so I think he had a lot of ideas, and he tried to it's just like this episode. Actually, this episode is Hamlet. It's a lot of ideas that maybe aren't the best when they are put together in one.
So maybe the writers were geniuses about this episode then, you know?
Yeah. So when Feeney says that Hamlet is one of literature's most human characters, Corey says, you mean he's one of literature's most wimpy characters. Wimps talk, heroes do stuff. Our high school, I feel like we had that conversation about whether Hamlet was like wimpy, like if he was a loser, like if he and that was definitely tied to like masculinity in the conversation. Like, is he a man? Is he able to like man up and, act, or does that make him weak that he doesn't act? So when Corey says that Hamlet is a wimpy character, Feeney says, the gospel according to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Did you know who Van Damme was?
Mm-mm.
Van Damme was this like famous action film star. He's from Brussels. He's regarded as an icon of action and martial arts cinema, and his films have grossed over $1 billion worldwide, making him one of the most successful action stars of all time.
Wow, how do I not know him?
No, he's huge. He's absolutely massive. He's like internationally one of the biggest like martial arts action heroes. So Topanga enters wearing her Ophelia costume. She looks amazing. I think that's my fashion moment, though I was a little bit... I had another fashion moment.
My fashion moment was Corey's outfit when he is reciting Hamlet before he gives up the part. He is wearing a collared shirt over a sweater. Looked so good. I forget what colors they were, but they were like a darker red and green and beige. It looked so good. And it also, it was very 90s, but a nod to the style today where that version that you'll see today is like a hoodie under like a pea coat. Like that's super in. So this was like the 90s version of that, and I really liked it. And he looked really good in that.
I love that. That's like a real fashion moment. I love that. So Topanga looks stunning. Her hair looks beautiful. And she has Corey's costume in her hands. And she says, here's your costume. Jedediah sewed it last night. And then we get the moment where Sean says, don't listen to her, Corey. Her dad sews. And Corey doesn't want to wear it because it's tights. And the scene ends with him quitting the play. He says, I quitteth. And he walks out. So we're in the hallway. And Sean, out of character, says, a stunning series of jabs from Matthews, staggering and unsuspecting Feeney. This is the guy who can't spell words. You can't give him lines like this. It's just not him. Unless we're supposed to believe that like him being in Hamlet is absolutely making his vocabulary soar through the ceiling, which is awesome.
He can't spell effort.
Exactly.
Doesn't add up.
I mean, he could have picked it up from like an action film or something, I guess. But and Corey's plan is like, you know, he's basically like, what choice does Feeney have now? Without me, he'll have to cancel the play. So the goal is to get Feeney to completely cancel the play. Minkus enters. Now I am alone. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I. So Minkus has a realization. He's like, melancholy Dane. He was Danish. Maybe I should do this with a Scandinavian accent. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia. Nymph and thy orisons be all my sins remembered. And look, man, okay, this is maybe messed up because we're making fun of an accent, and that's not cool. My friend who's Swedish has made jokes to me about how that's how Swedish people think that Norwegians sound. Like they also think Norwegians have that same like no like like way of speaking. Anyway, look, it's messed up.
I don't know where I stand on accents. I mean, I think if you're being genuine when you're trying to order something off the menu and you are trying to pronounce it correctly with an accent, like I don't think that's inherently racist or insensitive. Some people can't do an accent well. I think if you're trying, that's fine. But if your intentions are not pure, then yes, that's probably racist.
Well, what do you think about Minkus doing a Scandinavian accent? Like, what if you're pretending to be Chinese?
Yeah, fair. It's different when you're a white person doing it.
Meaning, when you're a white person, as Minkus is a white person pretending to be Chinese, or it's different because Scandinavian and a Scandinavian accent is him making fun of an accent that white people generally have.
Well, is he making fun or is he trying to do it authentically?
Let's say he was authentically trying to sound like a Chinese person.
Yeah. It's at the very least weird and uncomfortable.
It is. Yeah. And yet, for some reason with the Scandinavian, it doesn't quite hit the same way, right?
Yeah, it's not as uncomfortable for me.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do with this because this is stuff that happens. This is stuff that comes up in the classroom.
Right. I mean, doing a Scandinavian accent reciting a play and doing an English accent reciting a play, two different feelings about that. Nobody bats an eye over an American white person doing an English accent.
I love Brian Jordan Alvarez, right? And he is English teacher.
Yeah.
So
I just looked him up.
Has a series of videos where he puts on like a Colombian accent.
I know those videos.
Yeah. But he's Colombian. And I laugh because it reminds me of us growing up and speaking like abuela and saying things in our like theatrical Puerto Rican accent. I will forget sometimes. Like I'll say something, I'll be in my room, for example, and I'll be trying to find something. I'll be like, ay, Dios mío. And like, I say it in a theatrical way because we always did, you know.
Yeah.
Ay, Dios mío. And then I'm like, oh, do you think that I'm being racist because I don't look like I'm Puerto Rican? You know?
Well,
and like,
then that's your opportunity to be like, actually, I am Puerto Rican and I'm just being theatrical.
I also don't really, I'm not really saying it. I'm also kind of saying it like I'm being theatrical about it. Like I am doing it in the way that Brian Jordan Alvarez does it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think if you're, for me at least, right? I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I can do the accent very well, and I can get by. And I'm the same as you in that I'll be theatrical about it sometimes. Que lindo, you know, and like I reserve that right to do it because I am Puerto Rican, and it's in our family, right? I'm not. It is very nuanced, but I think like given that we are Puerto Rican and our family's Puerto Rican, like we have this like lived experience, we reserve the right to make fun of it sometimes because that's us, right?
Yeah.
There's no ignorance to it because we're very aware of it. It's a lived experience. I think it all comes down to whether you feel that that person who's doing that knows what it's like to live that experience of a person who they are impersonating.
That's a good,
I think that's what it is. And so it's a lot more uncomfortable to watch a white person do any accent besides like a British accent or like a Southern accent. It is way more uncomfortable to watch them do that versus a person of color. You just assume that the person of color who's doing it, like Trevor Noah, has that lived experience of, you know, oppression or like just understands it. So it's more acceptable.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to delineate. Like, if you are coming from a place where you deeply understand all of the struggles and oppression that, like, whatever group you are attempting to mimic has gone through or is going through. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, which is maybe why we can do our Puerto Rican thing, because it's in our family. So Minkus does his Scandinavian accent. Corey says, wait till Feeney sees our Prince Haagen-Dazs over there. I feel like the whiteness is playing a role in us not being shocked by this, you know?
And part of it might be ignorance. Like, I don't know a ton about Scandinavian history. I really don't. So that's probably part of it. But it doesn't make me feel the same way. It doesn't feel like a big part of our American culture and upbringing of like the sensitivity of that. Is not as real as the sensitivity of Black culture, of Asian culture, you name it, Native American culture.
And I looked up Haagen-Dazs because I was curious. Haagen-Dazs is not a word in any language. But it was invented by the company's founder, Ruben Mattis. So Mattis wanted a brand name that sounded Danish and chose it to give the product an upscale European feel.
Oh.
Yeah.
That feels racist.
Yeah. Company's pronunciation of the name ignores the letters A with the double dots over it and S, which do not exist in Danish. Yikes. Yeah, that definitely makes it worse. That is not even a real Danish word.
Oof.
Right? Oh my God, America. What the hell? It's an American company, by the way.
Oh my God, I didn't know it was an American company. I thought it was German. Well, the more you know.
Turns out that the founder of the company, Ruben Mattis, made the name up. The invention was for the name to seem foreign and to lend the product an air of upscale European elegance. Mattis came up with a name that he felt sounded Danish, stuck an umlaut in it to grab attention, and even included a map of Scandinavia printed on the product's packaging. The truth of the matter is that the company was founded by Polish Jewish immigrants in Brooklyn, New York, and the Danish language doesn't even use the Germanic umlaut.
What are they doing?
I mean, it's really good ice cream, though.
Oh, yeah. They have my favorite green tea ice cream and mint chocolate chip and chocolate ice cream. I love Haagen-Dazs.
I love Haagen-Dazs. Damn it, guys. Why do you have to be so racist? Oh. Okay, so then Corey says, wait till Feeney sees our Prince Haagen-Dazs over there. He's going to be begging me to come back to the play. With my Uzi, coming to an elementary school near you. Hambo, like Rambo and Hamlet. Part 6, reference to I'm blowing up your head. Part 6, Stumpy's Revenge. Part 6, To Kill or Not to Kill. So we are seeing that they have been influenced by those videos they've been watching.
Yeah.
We're in the kitchen. Basically, Eric reveals that Dad's pay got cut too, and that they can't afford to go to the Jersey Shore. It was Bob Williams' decision. And Corey's like, just fire him. And Alan's like, he's the boss. I can't. And Corey's like, wait, I thought you were the manager. And Alan explains, like, I'm the manager, but then there's a district manager, and then there's, bosses above him. Him, by the way, it's all men. Corey says, well, come on, Dad. There must be something you can do. And Alan's like, well, there are other people to consider, Corey, like my employees. And Corey's like, yeah, but I mean, you're not some spear carrier. I didn't get that line because I was like, well, if he's fighting against the pay cut, isn't he fighting for his employees?
I took it as he took the pay cut so that his employees didn't get a bigger pay cut. I saw it as like, well, he could keep what he's making, but his employees have to make less. And he's like, well, no, I'll take a pay cut, and whatever my pay cut is, like that can go towards his employees. Like I think that's what they meant by that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So Corey kind of like convinces his dad to fight it, I guess, and like accuses him of being a spear carrier.
Spear carrier was my word of the day. And the reason it was my word of the day was because I had a whole moment with this word the entire time. Because when he said that, I was like, what did he say? I was like, spear carrier. I've never heard that term before. And I looked it up and I learned what it means. And I was like, why would he say that? Like, I was like, there's no way he would know what that means. But then I realized that they did say that word earlier, and it's, a reference to the play that they're doing. So like it's top of mind. But it's like, wow, like he learned that word that day and now he's using it casually in a sentence. Like, that's interesting.
Oh my God. I'm having this moment right now. You taught me that. I didn't know that that's like an actual term.
Yeah,
for
it's an actual term
in a play.
Yeah, but that's where it comes from. But it's also just a general term to mean like somebody who's just in the background. Like, what are you, a spear carrier? Oh, what are you, just somebody in the background?
Did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So that's why it's in my word of the day.
But that connects. So do you understand how our words of the day connect? Because
remind me what yours is.
Mine was parlance. So he says in the parlance of theater, you would be a spear carrier, and it's theater jargon. Ha!
Yeah.
Our words of the day help each other.
Oh my God.
Okay, so then Alan knows what that means, and it's an insult. It means you're like a minor player. You're an NPG, NPR? What is it?
NPC. NPR.
NPG, NPR.
You're an NPR. No, NPC. Yeah, exactly. NPC. That's exactly what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of using that word, we say NPC now.
So Corey's like, Dad, I think you should just go in there and talk to them. And if they don't want you to do, and then if they don't want to do it your way, then just quit. And Alan's like, you think it's that simple, huh? And Corey's like, yeah, throw a little weight around. Trust me, it feels good.
I also want to say it's got to feel really nice as full grown adult going through grown ass issues, having your kid like so innocently be like, yeah, just, do this. It's fine. Like with zero concern for anything. Like, you got this, Dad. And I feel like sometimes we as adults need that. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes need that energy because it's so easy to be like, well, I can't do this because all these reasons. But having a kid just be like, who cares? Do this thing, like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you for sure. And you're reminding me of the point I made quite a few episodes back about how like a family really is a unit, and the kids like quote unquote raise the parents in the way that, like everybody plays their role in like parenting each other, if we use that word in the broadest sense. So I totally get what you're saying. I guess I just am like, I think that would piss me off. I'd be like, oh, you think it's so simple. But also Alan is obviously Hamlet, right? Like he's overthinking and therefore he can't act. And what you're saying is it's nice to have an innocent, naive point of view, because what Hamlet is an overthinking character. He's a character who's extremely intelligent and therefore cannot act. And I fully connect with that. I'm definitely, and I think a lot of people who are overthinkers and overanalyzers can relate to feeling stuck. I mean, I am the person who like won't go on a second date with someone because I've thought my way to the end of our relationship by the second minute of having
you saw
spoken
each
to
other
them.
in like your 60s talking about how much you hate each other and you wish you never met. And you're like, I can't. And you just like, you're like, that's so Raven with like the eye zooming in like into a vision of the future. And then you come back, I have to break up immediately.
The person's like, you don't even know my last name yet, but okay. So I hear you when you say, like, it is nice to have a kid's perspective just come in and be like, just do it.
Just do it. Sometimes that's what you need to just like forget all the nuance, forget all the details, and just do it.
So now it's nighttime. Alan is sitting like Hamlet in a dark kitchen. He's sitting on the counter and he's got like his head in his hand, and the lighting is in such a way it almost feels like there's a spotlight on him. And he's got his flannel over his shoulders, almost like a cape. And he's clearly deep in thought. And Amy comes down, Alan, and Alan's like, let me ask you something. Do you think of me as a spear carrier? And Amy's like, you know, the trick to raising a 12-year-old is to ignore him. And Alan's like, can I ignore the people at work? I mean, do they see me as good old do what he's told, Miss Alan Matthews? Alan won't complain. Alan's a company guy. There he is, aisle 4 with his spear. And Amy's like, gee, I thought the spears were on aisle 5. And Alan's like, I moved them next to the slings and the arrows.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Was that joke for the ones who really know.
Mm-hmm.
Amy's like, well, I think we both know what you're going to do. And Alan's like, no, you don't know what I'm going to do. And Amy's like, oh, you aren't going to talk to Bob Williams? And Alan's like, okay. You know what I'm going to do.
Very consistent with him being like, you don't know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And she says exactly what he's going to say. It's very cute.
So we get this scene where she gives him a melon, which is supposed to be, of course, the skull.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was very well done. I love the way he's sitting with his shirt over his shoulders. And I loved that whole thing. It
was visually great, but as an English teacher, it was frustrating because I was like, this isn't anything like what's actually going on in the play, you know? Alan's not Hamlet.
You're right. We didn't get enough from him with any sort of indecision. Like he seemed like he was accepting his fate in that moment until Corey kind of made him potentially think differently. But he was kind of like, he was ready to accept his fate.
I wish that there was a line. It could have been one line, like just, you know, I could quit, but what that would mean would be that the family would be, you know, in jeopardy for at least the amount of time it would take me to get another job. And, you know, anyway, so Alan pretends to talk to the melon. You know, he pretends the melon is Bob and he talks to it. And he basically says, like, you know, I feel that the rollback is neither warranted nor fair. You know, we're outperforming all the other market giants. Like, this isn't fair. And that's when Amy says her line, calm, succinct, rational. Gee, I'm just not attracted to you anymore. Really? Irrational? You're not attracted to someone who's rational?
I don't
Irrationality
was
is
she
hot.
joking or not? I don't even know.
She was joking, but I don't like it.
I think hearing that after what the scene earlier, it was just like, ugh.
This is the whole thing with the accents, right? Like you're willing to accept someone's accent if you feel like they understand the struggle, the journey, the oppression, right? Like in this case, I don't feel like the writers understand the struggle, the journey, the oppression. And so when you say something like this, I'm like, no, not on board.
It's all coming together. Yes, no, I agree. Absolutely. This would not have hit so hard if we didn't hear what we heard before. But now it feels like, okay, the writers are being racist. So I am going to assume that what she just said was racist. So it doesn't hit. It's not cool. Yeah. Don't like it.
The writers are misogynist, and so I'm going to assume what she just said is misogynist.
Did I say racist? I meant misogynist.
Yeah. Alan drops the melon on the floor. Bob's head gets smushed, basically. And then we're in the hallway. Sean reveals that the roles all got switched around when Corey quit, and that now Sean is Polonius. Corey says he looks more like a Bolognius. Sean's like, yeah, he's kind of a fat guy and there's a lot of lines to memorize, but you know what's really cool about him? And Sean's like, what? And then Sean does the funniest death scene I've ever seen, where he like bangs himself against the lockers, and then he rocks to the other side of the hallway and he bangs himself against the other lockers, and then he's on the floor and he keeps going like,
That was great physical comedy because I wasn't expecting the second bang against the lockers, and I thought that was really great.
It was. He timed it perfectly. It was very smooth. It wasn't too much. It was great.
Yeah, he's such a good actor.
It was too much, obviously, but it wasn't like too much of trying to be too much. Like it was the right amount of too much.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
It was great. And Corey's like, yeah, you die pretty realistically. And Sean's like, yeah, Feeney says it's his favorite part of the play. Sean basically says that Minkus is stinking up the play. And Corey's like, well, if Feeney backs down on the ballerina outfit, I'm there. This reminds me of the scene with Tony with a Y, with him saying that he has no respect for Feeney with the earrings. Like, this is what Corey, this is the thing. This is the reason that Corey doesn't want to be in the play, because he has to wear tights. This is a perfect example of homophobia, where we're so scared of being seen as feminine or gay that we will quit a play if we need to put on tights for it. So if you're gay, right, and you live in a world where straight men are terrified to be seen as gay, what do you think your life is like if you're gay? And how does that perpetuate that system, right, in which that person who is gay now has to fear? This kind of stuff puts people who are gay in there. It puts their lives in danger. People kill people who are gay. I'm saying this to the people that don't see this or understand this or get it.
No, I get it. No, not enough people understand this. It's scary.
People don't get that. When we see men embrace femininity, quote unquote, wearing pearl necklaces, which has become kind of in vogue recently, or I'm thinking of a Harry Styles, like I'm thinking of men who, you know, are embracing fashion that is considered to be, quote unquote, more feminine. It helps to create a world. It helps us move into a world where people, men who wear things like this, or who act feminine, or who are gay or trans, their lives aren't literally in danger. It creates a safer world.
And it's so much more normalized today, unfortunately. And I think that's why we really need to keep talking about it, because it will literally kill people, especially trans people, especially trans women.
Yeah, people will die. Especially Black trans women. They will die.
Yeah, people are dying. People will continue to die over this.
And there are people out there that want that. I know that that's like horrifying and like, I can't believe it, but like there are people out there that want that.
Yes, and the culture that we live in, it's becoming more normalized. That's okay to want that. That's okay to feel that way.
Those people that I'm talking to that are like, I don't really understand, or I don't get, or
I don't understand
want them to
why a man will want to paint his nails. Why would he do that? Like, I don't understand, right? Like something as small as that can easily kind of snowball into that. It's like, it sounds over dramatic, but it really isn't at all.
I think of it as a wheel, like the Wheel of Fortune wheel, where you grab one of the handles and you pull it and it spins, and it's been going, and it's a wheel of violence against anyone who does not conform to their gender, right? Violence has been happening, right? And then as we get to like these moments where it's starting to become a little more accepted, maybe it like slows down a little bit, and then things like this like will happen, where, or like something like this, like a show will normalize a kid not wanting to be in a play because he has to wear tights. And I think of it as like that being just one little whoosh, like someone just took the wheel and kept spinning it. Like what I'm asking for is for like, if we all just got on the same page about this, we could stop the wheel, but we're not doing it. And you know what I mean? That's how I see it. That's the way I visualize it. Sean says he's not going to back down on the ballerina outfit. There are male ballerinas, but anyway. And Minkus is stinking up my play. And Corey's like, well, I'm not crawling back to Feeney. And Sean's like, I'm asking you a favor. And Corey's like, Sean, yesterday you worshipped me as a god for quitting. If the play is that bad, then why don't you just quit? And Sean's like, I can't. Too many people are depending on me. And Corey's like, who's depending on you? And Sean's like, my dad. He's coming to see the play. And Corey's like, your dad's taking time off work to watch you die? And Sean's like, apparently this is something everybody wants to see. So then we get to a rehearsal. So we're on the stage. Topanga is in her grave. She has Ophelia dead. Minkus is on higher ground. It was well blocked, I felt. But Minkus is facing, his back is to the audience. And he's saying, what is he whose grief bears such an emphasis? And Feeney's like, stop. He's like, stop, Mr. Hamlet. You're supposed to be facing the audience. And Minkus turns around and he's like, aren't I? And he goes to walk right off the stage and Feeney catches him. And it was so, the physical comedy was so good.
Yeah.
And Feeney's like, Hamlet, where are your glasses? And this is where we get the line where he says, Mr. Feeney, they didn't have eyeglasses in the Middle Ages. And Feeney's like, put on your glasses and climb into Ophelia's grave. Oh, Minkus is such a good actor. He goes, I read an article that Elizabethan English is a lot like American Southern, so let me show you a little something I've been playing around with. Shazam! Show me what thou do. What wape? What fight? What tear thyself? Okay, now I'm doing an accent after all of that talk about it being uncomfortable.
Again, you are white American doing a Southern accent. You're not going to get heat for it. I promise. Unless that was a terrible accent, which it kind of was.
It was a bad accent.
As someone who lives in Tennessee, that was not good. And that also my accent was not good either because I'm not from Tennessee.
Well, how did you feel about Minkus's accent?
You did a good Southern accent.
And Topanga's like, Stuart, I can't breathe. And Minkus is like, stick to the script. And Topanga's like, your foot is on my liver. She kicks him and he falls back. And Corey says, when I quit this thing, I didn't think that everyone would be so affected. And Feeney says, neither did I. Corey says, okay, Mr. Feeney, I'm still not big on the pantyhose idea. Oh my God. But if that's what it takes, you got your Hamlet back. So everybody's, sorry, I forgot to mention, everyone leaves and this is when they have this conversation. So Feeney and Corey are now alone on the stage. And Feeney says, Mr. Matthews, come here. I already have my Hamlet. He may bump into the scenery. He may talk like a hayseed. For all I know, tomorrow he may show up in kabuki makeup. He says, nevertheless, he is my Hamlet. I do, however, have an opening for a spear carrier. Okay, repetition of a theme we've seen in the past with Eric quitting his job to be a model and then coming back and there being the box boy ship that he didn't really want. So I was like, okay, I feel like we didn't need this again, but I get it's the end of the season and everyone's tired. Cora's like, spear carrier, and Feeney's like, there's an old theater expression. There are no small parts, only small actors. Wished this was the main theme. Corey, Mr. Feeney, maybe I wouldn't have bailed on this play if you picked something a little cooler. I mean, couldn't we do some selected scenes from The Terminator? Or how about a Steven Seagal soliloquy? And Feeney says, Mr. Mathers, you are absolutely right. Shakespeare is dry, tedious. There's no way for a person your age to be affected by it. And then he shuts off the lights and he grabs a spear, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he becomes, do you know who he was?
No.
He becomes the ghost of Hamlet's father.
Oh, yes.
And he says, I am thy father's spirit, doomed for a certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fast in fires till the foul crimes done in my days of nature are burned. He is in hell, and he is burning in fire until the sins and the crimes that he's committed when he was alive are burned away. If I could reveal to you the secrets of how horrifying hell is, the things I would say would harrow up your soul and freeze your blood. The eternal punishment that I am facing is not for the ears of living creatures who walk the earth like you. Then he says, list. Oh, list. Do you know what he means by that?
No.
He's saying, listen to me. If thou didst ever thy dear father love, oh God, revenge his foul and most unnatural murder. If you ever loved your father, then revenge my murder. So, I mean, he's basically telling him, I am suffering in a way that you couldn't even possibly fathom. Avenge me.
Yeah, but if he avenges him, will he not be in hell anymore?
Yeah, no, he'll still be in hell. He just wants revenge because hell sucks. And he's like, someone else needs to suffer for putting me here. But Loki, I was like, but you kind of did the bad things, though.
Yeah.
So
why are you in hell, mister?
Yeah, what'd you do?
Yeah, what'd you do?
And then we're in the living room. We learn that Alan has gone to talk to the regional manager, Bob, about the salary rollbacks. And Corey's like, what? Why did he do that, Mom? He could lose his job. They could bust him down to box boy. Amy's like, I thought you wanted him to talk to his boss. And then Eric's like, oh, way to go, Corey. If Dad gets fired, they're never going to keep me on. You've destroyed the whole family. Alan comes in. Dad, you didn't yell at your boss, did you? So Alan says he didn't quit. Corey's like, I guess you couldn't. with me and mom and the rest of the family counting on you. So Corey's thinking of how he, let down his classmates when he quit the play. Alan's like, no, I didn't want to let you guys down. And Corey's like, wish I'd figured that out a couple days ago. I did let all my guys down. And Alan's like, you mean when you quit your play? And Corey's like, yeah, being the lead in the play is a lot like being a dad. And Alan's like, excuse me?
God, he's such a man in the boy's body.
Well, I was feeling a lot of things for these writers because, guys, we already did the whole Corey was a dad thing with, Model Family, and they also wrote Model Family. So
yeah,
I just felt like they were kind of.
Well, this is like tacking onto that, right? Like he's been a dad, so he knows how to be a dad. So it's just more of that.
Right. I guess I just wanted something different. I was like, we already did this and we did it better than we're doing it now. So we don't need this again. Do something else. So Corey's like, when you make a selfish mistake, the people who count on you get hurt. Alan says, well, maybe Mr. Feeney would let you back in the play. And Corey says, well, he did offer me a smaller part. The bad news is I'd still have to wear the pantyhose, but nobody laughs at a guy carrying a spear. Ginger rolls. So then it's revealed that they're not going to the Jersey Shore, but they very sweetly set up a mini golf course on the patio. One of my fashion moments was Amy in her golfing outfit. I just liked her. There was something about her hair with that cap on. I liked the hair. She looked kind of like a really cute lesbian.
There's something really nostalgic about it for me that I loved. But I loved the outfit. Loved.
And then we're on the stage for the button of the episode, and we get to see the play. And then Corey, we get a shot of Corey next to just a random kid, new actor, holding spears. And the kid is like, this bites. If I was any more bored, I'd be dead. And Corey's like, what are you talking about? Without us, there'd be no play. We're the few, the proud, the spear carriers. Kid's like, give me a break. No one even knows we're here. Might as well be that wall over there. Corey's like, have some pride, man. Live your part. Make it your own. Just goes over and spears somebody, and then there becomes this whole fight on stage and everyone's brawling, and then Corey just decides to knock everyone one by one off the stage, and then he just does a silly dance on stage, and that's the end of the episode. Kind of a chaotic button for a chaotic episode.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. I didn't quite feel much for the button, but it was fine.
I just can't wait till we're on to the next seasons, honestly.
We're almost there.
I'm so ready. We're almost there. Almost done with season 1. We're going to take a break, by the way, guys, because we need it, because it's been a lot. I am a teacher. I am also a swim coach. I also host trivia. I do a lot of things, guys.
You also are in a writing group, and I can say that you are crushing it. And you've got a great spirit about all of this.
I needed to hear that. Thank you.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Listen, when you're single, no one tells you anything. No one tells you anything positive about yourself ever.
You're right. You're so right. And I need you to know you're doing so much and you're succeeding in all of those things. And especially in this podcast, I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm pushing you to do stuff regarding this podcast, even though I know it's way down on your list. But I know you care about it a lot, but I know you've got many other priorities that come first, obviously. But the time and effort you put into this is unmatched. And when you are here doing this with me, you are so present, and I appreciate you for that.
Oh my God.
Excuse me.
It's all mutual. I feel exactly the same way. I'm loving getting to see how you are as a project manager, as someone who's organized and in control and has it together. I'm just so
Yeah, it's actually been great, and I really like that you get to see that part of me. Yeah,
you have a real talent for it. So that's it for the episode. Thanks so much for listening. Rate and review us. Follow us on Boy Meets Wine podcast on Instagram. The name of the wine we had today was Cavit. Theme song credit goes to Julia. Cavit. Theme song credit goes to Julia Rosa. And next week's episode is season 1, episode 21. Boy Meets Girl. Cheers.
Cheers.